TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom ve'erev tov, good evening. Welcome to our daily TV7 Israel News Bulletin, broadcast from Jerusalem. The United States announces a naval blockade on Iran, that after the Islamic Republic refuses to America's terms in the negotiations that took place in Islamabad, including the opening of the Strait of Hormuz. In response, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps threatens it will begin striking ports throughout the region. And Israel and Lebanon are set to begin direct talks amid ongoing hostilities between the Iranian-proxy Hezbollah and the IDF. Talks between the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran in Pakistan's capital, Islamabad, came to an abrupt end that after 21 hours of negotiations.
We've had a number of substantive discussions with the Iranians. That's the good news. The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement, and I think that's bad news for Iran much more than it's bad news for the United States of America. So we go back to the United States having not come to an agreement. We've made very clear what our red lines are, what things we're willing to accommodate them on, and what things we're not willing to accommodate them on. And we've made that as clear as we possibly could, and they have chosen not to accept our terms.
The main point of contention included the Ayatollah regime's refusal to end its pursuit of nuclear weapon capabilities.
The simple fact is that we need to see an affirmative commitment that they will not seek a nuclear weapon, and they will not seek the tools that would enable them to quickly achieve a nuclear weapon. That is the core goal of the President of the United States, and that's what we've tried to achieve through these negotiations. Again, their nuclear program, such as it is, the enrichment facilities that they had before, they've been destroyed. But the simple question is, do we see a fundamental commitment of will for the Iranians not to develop a nuclear weapon, not just now, not just 2 years from now, but for the long term? We haven't seen that yet. We hope that we will. Jen.
Vice President Vance went on to highlight that while the United States had engaged in good faith, the terror regime in Iran could not come to terms with its defeat. Nevertheless, the United States departed Islamabad after it had delivered Washington's unyielding red line.
We just could not get to a situation where the Iranians were willing to accept our terms. I think that we were quite flexible, we were quite accommodating. The president told us, you need to come here in good faith and make your best effort to get a deal. We did that, and unfortunately, we weren't able to make any headway. We leave here with a very simple proposal, a method of understanding that is our final and best offer. We'll see if the Iranians accept it.
Meanwhile, upon landing in Washington, U.S. President Donald Trump asserted that the Ayatollah regime was clearly in bad shape.
I think Iran is in very bad shape. I think they're very desperate. We had a meeting that lasted 21 hours. We understand the situation better than anybody, and Iran's in very bad shape. And just so you understand, Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. Will not have. There is no way that they're going to get. They still want it, and they made that clear the other night. Iran will not have a nuclear weapon.
And in response to the Ayatollah regime's refusal to accept America's demands, President Trump announced that the United States Navy would impose a blockade which took effect at 5 p.m. Israel or Finland time earlier today, which correlates to 4 p.m. Central European time or midnight in Sydney, Australia.
10 o'clock tomorrow, we have a blockade going into effect. That'll be 10 o'clock tomorrow. Other nations are working so that Iran will not be able to sell oil.
Meanwhile, during his weekly cabinet meeting in Jerusalem, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he had held a phone conversation with Vice President J.D. Vance and that Israel was resolutely in support of President Donald Trump's approach in facing Tehran's defiant stance.
I spoke yesterday with Vice President J.D. Vance. He called me from his plane back from Islamabad. He reported to me in detail, as this administration does every day, about the development of the negotiations. In this case, the disintegration of the negotiations. The abrupt end of the talks came from the American side, which could not tolerate Iran's blatant violation of the agreement to enter the negotiations. The agreement was that they would cease fire, and the Iranians would immediately open the gates. They did not do that. The Americans could not accept that. He also made it clear to me that the main issue on the agenda for President Trump and the United States is the removal of all enriched material and ensuring that there is no more enrichment in the coming years, and that could be for decades, no enrichment within Iran. That is their focus, and of course it is also important to us. Because Iran violated the rules, President Trump decided to impose a naval blockade on them. We, of course, support this aggressive stance, and we are coordinating with the United States all the time. The talk as if there is a disconnect between us is the complete opposite. Everyone who was around this conversation, and around the daily conversations that I have with the President and our people are holding with his staff. This is coordination that did not exist prior. There is something here that is unprecedented, which never existed in the history of the State of Israel, and never existed in the history of the Jewish people. We have coordination with the most powerful power in the world, and we have the ability to repel the dangers of annihilation.
It is important to highlight that while the war against the Ayatollah regime in Iran has entered into a new stage with the fragile ceasefire still intact, the IDF is engaged in a high-intensity offensive against Iran's proxy in Lebanon, Hezbollah. Therefore, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, accompanied by the top security brass of Israel, visited troops in southern Lebanon, where he received a comprehensive situational assessment on progress made.
I am here with the Minister of Defense, the Chief of Staff, the Commander-in-Chief, the Division Commander, and our reserve soldiers. There is a wonderful spirit here and a willingness to fight, and they are fighting well. The war continues, including within the security zone in Lebanon, where I was a little while ago. What we see is that we have thwarted the threat of invasion from Lebanon thanks to this security zone, are removing the danger of anti-tank fire, and are also dealing with the surface-to-surface capabilities. But there is more work to do. We have done a huge job, tremendous achievements. There is more to do, and we are doing it. One of the things we see here is that we have essentially changed the face of the Middle East. Our enemies, Iran and the axis of evil, they came to destroy us, and now they are simply fighting for their own survival. We see it in every arena. This is a tremendous achievement by the State of Israel and the Israel Defense Forces, our regular soldiers, and our wonderful reserve soldiers. Thank you, guys. The people of Israel salute you.
While Israel continues to engage the Iranian-proxy Hezbollah forcefully, the Lebanese and Israeli governments are set to meet today for direct negotiations to try and find common ground on a resolution to the conflict. Israeli Ambassador Yechiel Leiter and Lebanese Ambassador Nada Hamadeh will meet in Washington under auspices of U.S. Ambassador to Lebanon Michel Issa, with both Jerusalem and Beirut keen on achieving a positive outcome, which is detached from Hezbollah's masters in Iran. Meanwhile, in Tehran, the IRGC leveled a threat to the United States, pledging to forcibly respond to the American naval blockade on Iran. This threat was conveyed by a regime-run news agency on behalf of the IRGC spokesman, who unabashedly blamed the United States of acting as a criminal country that frustrates freedom of navigation in international waters.
اعمال محدودیت آمریکای جنایتکار بر حرکت عبور و مرور دریایی شناور.
The criminal America's restriction on the movement of maritime vessels in international waters is an illegal act and an example of piracy. The armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran explicitly and resolutely declare that the security of ports in the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman is either for everyone or for no one. If the security of the ports of the Islamic Republic of Iran in the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman is threatened, no port in the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman will be safe.
Meanwhile, in Europe, despite its consistent refusal to assist in securing freedom of navigation in the strategic Strait of Hormuz, as the terror regime in Tehran continues to block that waterway, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen voiced the EU institutions' weariness on the rising costs of energy products.
Since the beginning of the conflict, 44 days ago, our bill for fossil fuel imports has increased by over 22 billion euros. 44 days, 22 billion euros, not a single molecule of energy in addition. And this shows the enormous impact this crisis has on our economy. Even if the hostilities ceased immediately and the disruption of energy supplies from the Gulf will persist for some time to come, and therefore we discussed a series of measures that we will present to leaders at the next informal council that we have next week in Cyprus. First and foremost, it is important that we have a robust coordination among the member states, because we've learned in any crisis, unity is our strength. We're also looking into EU-wide coordination of member states' gas storage filling to avoid that many member states go to the market at the same time, so they are competing against each other. And we will also coordinate oil stock releases to achieve the largest possible effect of these releases. And we will ensure that member states' emergency measures will not impact the single market.
Meanwhile, in Berlin, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz announced a tax reduction on gas by 17 euro cents to help mitigate the impact of rising energy prices in the country, all the while stressing Germany's proactive efforts to bring an end to the conflict.
Ich habe in der vergangenen Woche gesagt, dass wir die politische Entwicklung abwarten.
I said last week that we would await political developments. Yesterday, Iran and the U.S. provisionally broke off negotiations on a ceasefire. The U.S. president has announced a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. As a result, oil prices rose overnight to over $100 per barrel again. This shows that this conflict, this war, is the real cause of the problems we are also facing in our own country. That is why I want to make it very clear once again that we are doing everything in our power to bring this war to an end. This applies to the foreign minister, but it also applies to me personally. Wherever we can exert influence, including in cooperation with our European partners, we intend to do so.
Partnern wollen wir das tun.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News, which is made possible by the generosity of our viewers. If you would like to help support TV7 Israel, which is exclusively donation-based, you can do so via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. Please keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem and redemption of Israel. I'm Jonathan Hessen wishing you a Shavua Mevorach, and God willing, until our next update, Shalom from Jerusalem.